Hola, and welcome to our first episode of Flipped Learning Spanish Grammar. In today's lesson, Verb Lesson 1, we're going to talk about the basics of the present tense in Spanish. So let's start with what the present tense is. The present tense expresses actions that are taking place in the present, as in right now. In order to do that, what we have to do is take our infinitive. Remember that an infinitive is a verb that ends in AR, ER, or IR. We're going to drop that ending, that AR, ER, IR, and we're going to add a new ending based on the subject of our verb. Now, sometimes instead of subjects, we get subject pronouns. So let's just quickly review what the subject pronouns are in Spanish. They're right here on your screen. Yo is I. Tú is you. It's the familiar or informal singular. It would be used when addressing a friend, a sibling, or someone younger than you. Then we have él, he, ella, she. Usted also means you, but it's used formally. If you want to say you when speaking to someone in a position of respect, such as a teacher, or if you're talking to someone you don't know, you would use usted to say you. Nosotros is we. Vosotros, you again, sometimes referred to as y'all. It's the plural of two. So where two would be used with one friend to say you, vosotros would be used with a group of friends to say you, y'all, yous guys. Ellos is they, referring to either all male or a mixed group of males and females. Ellas, they, referring to just a group of females. And ustedes, a fourth word for you in Spanish. This one is the plural of usted, and ustedes is formal and plural. So usted you would use to say you to one teacher. Ustedes you would use if addressing a group of teachers. Ustedes, you guys. Politely, though. Now, for the big stuff, we have our present tense verb endings. There are 3 sets, AR, ER, and IR. You've been studying these forever. The AR endings, o, as, a, amos, ais, an, accent on the A in ice. ER, o, es, e, emos, es, en, accent on the E in the vosotros ending. And the IRs, o, es, e, imos, is, en, accent on the I in the vosotros. You are responsible for knowing which letter is accented on the vosotros ending. There's a really easy way to remember it. For AR verbs, the accent's on the A. For ER verbs, the accent's on the E. And for IR verbs, the accent's on the I. Okay? AR verbs A, ER verbs E, IR verbs I. Next slide. CER and CIR verbs in the present tense. These have a slightly irregular yo form, and you've already seen the most common verb that does this, conocer. You all learned that the yo form of conocer is conozco, ZCO, yo form only. What you probably didn't learn was that conocer ends in CER, and any verb that ends in CER or CIR does the same thing. Like nacer, to be born, nazco. You don't use it often because really, who's capable of saying I am being born at the moment in which they're being born? Not highly used. But you do have a list in front of you of a bunch of verbs that all follow this rule. And these will also be on Quizlet, listed as CER/CIR verbs in the present tense that change to ZCO. And you do need to know what they mean and be familiar with them. And again, it only happens in the yo form. Yogo verbs. You guys know yogo verbs. These are verbs that in the yo form end in a GO. Again, the G is only in the yo form. Here is the list of the common ones. They will once again be on Quizlet listed as yogo verbs. Now, we've got two little freakish verbs that don't fit any other rules. They are just out there in left field on their own, staring at the grass, balls flying by them. They don't know what's going on, and neither do we. Saber becomes yo se, S-E with an accent. It is not sabo. The yo form of saber will never be sabo. Please do not use sabo. Erase it from your mind. There is only say. Okay? Caber, to fit, like the shoe does not fit on my foot, but the box does, becomes capo in the yo form only. Q-U-E-P-O. How we get that from caber is a story that only Latin can explain. But suffice to say, for your purposes, you need to know that caber, yo form present tense, is capo. All the rest have CAB in them, just not the yo form. Freakish little verb. And speaking of freakish little verbs, here are the major irregular verbs that you have to know. Dar, to give, doy das da, damos dais dan. There's no accent on vosotros. Ir, which is almost exactly the same as dar. The only difference between dar and ir is dar starts with D and ir starts with a V. Why? We don't know. Actually, Latin knows, but we're not doing Latin. So ir becomes voy vas va, vamos vais van. You guys all know ir. Just remember, once again, there's no accent on the vosotros form. Decir combines two great things into one. It's both an E to I It's an E to I boot verb and a yogo verb. So digo, dices, dice, decimos, the E comes back, decis, E comes back again, and dicen, oh look, it's an I. Then we have oír, which has an accent in nosotros and vosotros, and a Y in tú and ellos, and it's a yogo verb in the yo form. Could this verb get any stranger? Oh, wait till you see the preterite. Oigo, oyes, oye, oímos, oís, and oyen. Ver, to see. The only irregular form is the yo form. And vosotros does not have an accent. Yo form is veo, and everything else, like I said, is pretty much normal except for vosotros. Haber, to have, is an auxiliary verb. It does mean to have like tener, except it's used very differently. Haber has to be used with another verb. It generally does not stand on its own. If you want to say, I have a piece of paper, you're still going to use tener. Don't use haber until I tell you to use haber. Always be careful with haber. Remember with haber, the H is silent, so don't say it. Therefore, the forms of haber are pronounced e, as, a, hemos, habes, an. You actually have seen haber in level 3 when you did perfect tenses. And that's where we're going to see haber again. Watch out for those habers. And the last two, Sarah and a star, together forever, irregular, and annoying. You should know the forms of these. Make certain you do. And we'll be reviewing the uses of Sarah and a star very soon, but not today. We're going to talk about the uses of the present tense today. In English, we have three different ways to express the present tense. We can say Pablo leaves, we can say Pablo is leaving, and we can say Pablo does leave. In Spanish, one verb can say all of those. Pablo sale. Pablo sale means Pablo leaves. Pablo sale means Pablo is leaving. And Pablo sale also means Pablo does leave. There's no separate word for does in Spanish. Okay, so please remember that the present tense in Spanish can be expressed three ways in English. It's a threefer. And the second thing you should be aware with the present tense is it can sometimes be used to express future when you're discussing immediate future, things that are about to happen. Okay? And you've got some examples there on the screen. You can read them or not, whatever. All right, so that's the first part of our present tense review. Stay tuned for the next episode in which we'll be discussing everybody's favorite, the boot verbs. Until next time, this is your Spanish teacher signing off. Adios.